Well, Kyler Murray says no to Major League Baseball. Also, we've got recruiting rankings in the books and much more. I'm Pete Mundo, Heartland College Sports Weekly, part of HeartlandCollegeSports.com. We're your independent Big 12 digital media outlet. We appreciate you joining us. And, of course, a lot of basketball talk to get to as well with Matthew Postins coming up in just a few minutes. But where I want to kick things off with the show is the news that Kyler Murray, this came down earlier this week, Kyler Murray is returning over $1 million to the Oakland A's, and he is saying, I am taking a shot at the NFL. Now, this is a huge deal for multiple reasons. First off, let's talk about the big picture here. When you say baseball versus football, this is another sign that this generation is lost with baseball and has zero interest in the sport. You know, I don't know about you. I grew up a big baseball fan, diehard New York Mets fan, and I still like my team. But I got to be honest, baseball as a sport has lost me. Now, I'm 30 years old. I'm not a kid, but I'm also not some 50-year-old man. And I can't get into the sport. It has lost a lot of people under the age of 35. I'm now college football through and through. I'll dabble with the NFL, and that's about it. And here's who Kyler Murray, who had, was the top 10 pick, had $1 million+ bonus, and was going to make many more seven figures had he stayed with the Oakland A's. And he said, you know what? I won the Heisman Trophy, got to the college football playoff. Yeah, I'm 5'10" on a good day with with heels on, but I'm going to take my shot at the next level. This is terrible news for baseball. Terrible news. This is not choosing between the two sports in the standpoint of they were both on equal footing. You already had $1 million in the bank. You could have a 15-year career in Major League Baseball and still walk afterwards. This guy has a chance that even if Kyler Murray makes the NFL, and if he has any type of career, unless he's playing behind the greatest offensive line in the history of the NFL, he's going to take a few shots, man. He's not a big guy. And for him to just say, I loved football too much to give it up, it's very, very telling. Very telling. And I'm not shocked, but I am surprised. I just thought eventually Scott Boras, the money, would win out. And he'd say, you know what, I got to do this baseball thing. His loyalty to the A's, they gave him a year to go play college football. He'd say, I got to do this. He said, no, I just love football too much. And I'm really surprised, and I was very surprised when I heard this story earlier in the week and the news came out. And you look at football in general. The AAF over the weekend, which, by the way, has a lot of Big 12 players, especially on the San Antonio Commanders. Go Commanders! I think Joel Lanning's on the team, Aaron Green of TCU, a lot of Big 12 faces on the old Commanders. So the ratings for the AAF beat the ratings for the NBA Game of the Week on ABC between James Harden and the Houston Rockets and Russell Westbrook and the Oklahoma City Thunder. That is earth-shattering news. That's mind-blowing to think that all of a sudden – the AAF, a week after the Super Bowl ends, meaning, it's not like people are hungry for football. It ended 6 days ago, and it's still beating out the NBA. Football has encapsulated our hearts, our minds in every which way, and this decision by Kyler Murray is another example of that. And it's also, listen, the rich get richer. This is great news for OU. To have a guy that's going to be a top – the over-under I saw on Kyler Murray's draft pick is 9.5. It feels high. But, geez, people have quarterbacks, and I could totally see somebody falling in love with this guy, trading up into the top 10 to pick him. Wouldn't shock me. For Lincoln Riley to have two top 10 quarterbacks taken, the number one pick last year in Baker Mayfield, a guy who should have won Rookie of the Year, have two straight Heisman winners, and potentially two straight top 10 picks off of two college football playoff appearances in a row, and who knows what he's going to do with Jalen Hurts this year. This is stuff you haven't seen before, what Lincoln Riley is doing. And I know there are some OU fans listening or watching, whether it's radio, podcast, YouTube, whatever, and they're like, oh, stop kissing OU's butt. I'm not trying to kiss OU's butt. I'm just laying it out there for you. This is incredible. and this is actually a good thing for Lincoln Riley's resume. Not that he needed more good things, but it's just another feather in his cap if Kyler Murray does now go in the top 10 or who knows if it's higher in the NFL draft. I don't know what type of career he's going to have. Here's how I've described Baker Mayfield. If you listen to the show, you've heard me say this. Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray is a great athlete, a good football player. Baker Mayfield is a great football player, good athlete. I'd rather have Baker Mayfield from the standpoint of that combination is more valuable to me. Great football player, good athlete. Tom Brady is not a great athlete. He's a great football player, great football IQ, loves the game, really smart, average athlete. But someone's going to fall in love with Kyler Murray. I don't know if the game translates as well to the NFL for Murray. Far more of a runner, used far more of his legs than Mayfield ever did. Good arm. But at 5'9", Baker was 6 foot, and people were like, is he too short? At 5'9", with the game that much faster, can Murray see it? Can he see the game unfold at that pace, at that height? Yes, Russell Wilson can do it, but you're talking an inch or two shorter than Russell Wilson. So, and Russell Wilson landed in the perfect spot, let's be honest. With that defense starting his career, with that defense at that time in Seattle, with that head coach in Pete Carroll, that's just sometimes where you go is just as important as who you are and how you play. And Russell Wilson was able to be groomed. So, hey, we'll see. We will see. Well, recruiting rankings in the books. And I use 247, 24/7, whatever you want to call them. You have Texas and OU both finishing in the top 6. Texas came in at number 3 in the rankings. OU came in at number 6. And then for the Big 12, a massive drop-off down to 33. We're going to talk to Derek Duke about this coming up later in the show. He's our recruiting expert at heartlandcollegesports.com. But I got to be honest, the drop from 6 to 33 in the Big 12 is really concerning. TCU is the third-ranked team in the Big 12 when it comes to recruiting rankings at 33. And then it's like a mosh pit of teams. It's TCU, Baylor's at 35. Gosh, Matt Rule. I don't think maybe Baylor fans appreciate him, but from what I see on the outside looking in, I still think Baylor fans undervalue this guy and underappreciate this guy. Oklahoma State at 37. And then you go to Iowa State at 48 and West Virginia at 49. So you got 5 teams jammed into a 15-team range there from 33 to 49. I don't love that drop-off. TCU typically over the last couple of years has recruited generally top 25 classes under Gary Patterson since this team has picked up its pace in the Big 12. To see him down at 33, I'm not concerned about it. Listen, the gap between 25 and 33 is you're splitting hairs a little bit here. But what I love about the Big 12 and have loved about the Big 12 is, yes, OU has been there consistently at the top. And it looks like Texas is now consistently getting back to the top level. Tom Herman got the team to the Big 12 championship game last year. Number 3 recruiting class in America this year off of top 5 last year, top 10 last year. Things are clearly trending in the right direction. But what I loved about the Big 12 is that there was that non-blue blood every year that was in the mix, whether it was TCU or an Oklahoma State. You saw Baylor in there during the Art Briles tenure. I don't want to lose that in the Big 12. I just, especially with a 10-team league, I'd hate to go back to just predictably OU Texas. As much as it's good for the conference, you've heard me say this time and time again. OU and Texas being good is good for the Big 12, just like Ohio State being good is good for the Big 10. Alabama for the SEC, USC for the Pac-12. We get it. You get it. We all understand that. But I just want to make sure that there's not a massive competitive drop-off because that would just be, and I don't think it's going to be massive. I just don't want to make the conference too predictable, and I don't want to overreact to one set of recruiting rankings or classes, right? I don't have any intentions of doing that, although we all are prone to overreaction sometimes. But I just saw that gap of 27 spots between the number 2 team in the conference and rankings for this 2019 class and the number 3 team. And I was like, yeah, that's a pretty damn big drop. Pretty damn big drop. And then to have all those teams bunched up there and the Iowa States and West Virginias. And, you had so many new coaches too this year, which changes, especially with the early signing day. if you're bringing in a new head coach and now with this early signing day, yeah, I mean, you are chasing your tail all day, every day, up until that first Wednesday in February. It used to be you had a couple of months to get guys in the mix. And the last year that happened was Matt Rule's final year coming into Baylor. So it worked out for him. But if you were Chris Kleiman or Neil Brown or Les Miles or Matt Wells, I mean, you are walking into a difficult situation, but that's true for any new head coach. It just so happened the Big 12 turned over 40% of its coaches this year. I still think, and I don't want to give the guy a hard time because he knows what he's doing, but can Oklahoma State recruit a top 25 class, please? Please? Please. That's all I'm asking for, Mike Gundy. Please give me a top 25 class. My gosh. I mean, you got top 25 facilities. You got a top 25 program. You won 10 games in 3 straight seasons, except for this past year. But recruiting always pays off the year after the year that you had the success. This guy's in the mid-30s every year, high 30s every year. It's like, and I get it. Trust the process. Gundy knows what he's doing. I don't want to give him a hard time. It's almost like the guy likes this whole thing where, he hires these coaches from Shippensburg and Princeton and whatnot, and then he doesn't recruit as well as fans want him to, but then he goes wins his 9-10 games. So maybe I'll just pipe down. Maybe that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm just saying. Would it kill you to get a couple 4-star guys in there, at least a couple more? I don't think it's too hard to ask. Stillwater's a great town. I mean, get them in there, Mike. Come on. Let's go. All right, coming up, let's talk some hoops. Matthew Postins does a great job for us on the basketball side. He'll join us a ton to get to on the Big 12 basketball scene right here on Heartland College Sports Weekly, part of HeartlandCollegeSports.com.